Well, let's stay with those pictures that are now coming in of an AN-32 transport aircraft of the Indian Air Force that has met with an accident at the Jorhat Air Force Station in Assam. A military aircraft that crashed at the Air Force Station during an attempted landing, and the aircraft that involved a cargo plane which is used for transporting supplies, especially to remote regions. Now, this accident occurred while the aircraft was attempting to land at the airbase, and however, it is still unclear on the pilots or how many were there on board. Further details are awaited as the rescue and the investigation efforts continue at the site. Dr. Augustine, apologies I had to interrupt you earlier, but we also have Mayank and Arunil who continue to be part of the broadcast as well. Please complete your point as you were suggesting. Exactly when we take a look at the pictures, it has split. That talks about the impact that it would have had and this explosion following thereafter.
Absolutely. In fact, like viewers know, a car crash, you bang your car head on onto a wall. The car's engine is supposed to collapse and crumble. Something similar happens with the aeroplane as well, too. There are fault lines at which the aeroplane is supposed to split. So what you see split in two is, in my opinion, more by design than by default. A. B, like I was saying before we went on to break, in AN-32 crashes that I have seen, one I have seen live in front of me, it was again engine failure after landing, where the engine, one engine withdrew or one engine braked, the other engine didn't brake. The propeller brakes this aeroplane or applies brake kind of a thing to this aeroplane. People walked away. And it was worse crash than the crash that we are seeing on the screen. I hope that is the case here too. Thirdly, and most importantly, AN-32 is designed for short field takeoff and landing. AN-32 is designed to operate at high altitudes. AN-32 is also designed to land at unpaved runway, which means dirt, roads, on river banks, etc. And that is what it does in most of the forward bases. And the forward bases that this particular base serves, Amita, have landed in all of them. Right from Anini, Alini, Machuka, and all Zero, you name it, I've landed in all of them, and some of them are really, really scary. Even for a pilot like me, it's I've hats off to AN-32 pilots who go and support our soldiers. Because of this AN-32, they are probably able to sustain in those high altitudes, in those forward bases, and some of these forward bases are scarier than even the forward bases in J&K and Leh Ladakh. So one, Amitabh, what I was covering was about hydroplaning, or something called an hydrodynamic lift, and I was trying to explain.
Yes.
When you strike a stone at the water, the stone kind of skips over the water. That is hydrodynamic lift. So when you land, especially when you have a thin film of water on the runway, and it is applicable to all aeroplanes, one of the wheel may hydroplane or aquaplane. If that happens, the aeroplane violently swings to one side. So could that be also a reason? I'm just questioning myself, looking at the weather and the picture.
Right.
That also could be one of the reasons. And like I said, engine failure is what I'm hearing. It could be coupled with engine failure.
Of course, we are waiting till the time that, due protocols are done by the Indian Air Force. And thereafter, however, there are indications that are coming in that it does not seem good. Let's also connect with Group Captain UK Devnath, also joining us here on the broadcast. Sir, when you look at these pictures, what is your assessment?
Definitely, the engine of the aircraft has broken away from the main fuselage. In fact, the entire wing has broken away from the main fuselage. That shows that due to some reason, the aircraft has undergone a very high level of lateral and vertical stress. Normally, this will happen in case the aircraft impacts during landing, impacts with runway or with the what we call runway shoulder. They are soft ground, prepared hard surface with very high vertical velocity. This shows that probably the aircraft, due to certain reason, continue to approach for landing with very high rate of descent. Normally, the rate of descent during a normal landing will be 5 to 7 meters per second. In this case, to have impacted this aircraft must have been descending due to some reason at a very high vertical rate of descent. As the visuals show, there are clouds, and maybe at that time there were low clouds over the airfield. Jorhat does have an ILS system, instrument landing system, but the ILS which is at Jorhat needs a pilot to have a contact with ground at the terminal phase of landing. That means as he is approaching for landing, as he is descending through 300 feet, 200 feet, 100 feet, he has to pick up the runway visually and then land himself. Due to some reason, maybe due to say changing weather phenomena there,
Right, sir.
we must remember that it is monsoon season in Assam, and Jorhat is in a bowl. So every day morning, large number of clouds drifting towards the airfield. It could have happened that due to very low level, the bottom of the cloud was so close to the runway that the pilot picked up the runway at very, very last moment. But actual reason for the crash will be brought out only by an investigation.
Right, sir,
yes.
Because this is something which is obviously will be taking place. Dr. Agustin, yes, a quick comment because I have to also bring in Arunil and Mayank.
Absolutely. In fact, I just did an ILS landing a couple of days ago in Jorhat. And I'm just adding to what Grubi Devnath said. At minimum, if you don't make the contact with the runway, you go around. You don't continue with the landing. Yeah, engine failure. I was just with one of my friend. Like you correctly said, Amita, we have to wait for official confirmation, but most probably there has been a fatality.
Yes,
but
sir.
Again, we'll have to wait for the
confirmation on that because we'll avoid speculations at every cost. Arunil, the initial statement that has come in from the Indian Air Force, if you can read that out for our viewers who are joining in the broadcast right now.
Well, the statement basically says that AN-32 has crashed at the airbase and losses feared. This is what is worrisome, Amita. Now, speaking about AN-32 as well, this is basically the cargo-carrying transport aircraft that was inducted in the Indian Air Force way back in 1986. And since 1986 until
Arunil, just
today,
apologies, there is this statement that has now come in. I'm just going to quickly read that out, then you can follow up on that. It goes on to say, again, it's not giving away much as far as the details of this incident is concerned or this accident. What is being said that an Indian Air Force AN-32 aircraft met with an accident today while landing at Jorhat, and a court of inquiry is now being constituted to ascertain the cause of the accident. Yes, Arunil.
Well, that is right. Basically, it has been mentioned that an inquiry will be done to ascertain what wrong happened in the aircraft. Now, I was adding to a point, Amita, as well, speaking about AN-32, the cargo-carrying transport aircraft that was inducted in the Indian Air Force way back in 1986. Since that time, 22 such crashes of the AN-32 have taken place. Now, whether upgradation and proper update regarding this aircraft which crashed in Jorhat was done, that is again a big point of question. The health status of the pilot is also extremely paramount. We are awaiting for a formal statement from the Indian Air Force regarding this as well. Rescue operations have been conducted by the Indian Air Force as well as the rescue teams that are there on ground. Jorhat is an extremely strategically important airbase in Upper Assam, basically one of the most important air stations in Northeast, and this AN-32 was carrying cargo to Jorhat. That is when immediately after landing, immediately after touching down at the airbase, we understand that it exploded. What are the reasons behind this explosion or the crash that has happened? That will be a proper inquiry, a thorough inquiry will be done by the Indian Air Force. That is what their
Of course, this is a protocol and due protocol, Mayank, that is now being followed by the Indian Air Force with a court and inquiry that has been ordered. However, they are, till right now, we don't have the actual reason what could have caused this crash. And nothing as far as on the pilots, that also has not been updated yet.
Amita, generally the crew includes a pilot, co-pilot, navigator, and the people who are involved with the loading of the things there. But having said that, we are really emotional about our armed forces and the personnel there. I need to bring out something very important, that in 2008, when we chose to reactivate DBO, which is Daulat Beg Oldie, which is a strategically based tabletop air base towards Ladakh, and which is at the height of 6,600 kilometer, we chose this very aircraft, which is the AN-32, AN-32, to land, to carry out the landing. So this is the significance of the kind of aircraft we have, which is the AN-32. And as brought out by Group Captain Augustine, it is very important for sustenance of these places. You know, we have a large number of our armed forces, which includes Army and Air Force, deployed into those areas, and to sustain them, we need to carry out some tactical uplifting of cargoes, which is between 5 to 7 tons. And this is the kind of a lifeline. We can use this term very easily with this, associate with this aircraft AN-32. It's a sort of a lifeline to sustain our troops into those areas which are sited into very difficult places. And as brought out by our previous officer, you know, talking only about Arunachal Pradesh, there are almost 5 valleys into those areas. When you go to middle sector, and here we are trying to signify only about the line of actual controls towards that area, we have multiple valleys into that area also. And same goes for Ladakh. So this is the kind of significance we hold as far as this aircraft, which is a workhorse and a lifeline. It serves as a lifeline, Amita.
All right. I'm told that Air Commodore Dr. A.S. Behel is also joining us here on the broadcast. Sir, what is your assessment? Because the AN-32 is often labeled as the workhorse of the Indian Air Force, and there are over hundreds of them which are said to be in service. So the medium transport aircraft, it also comes in the heavy lift capacity category as well. So what are we now looking at, you know, especially when these pictures have come, a court of inquiry that has also been ordered, sir?
Yeah, my first reaction to this is it's a very unfortunate accident. The aircraft definitely is a workhorse. It's a medium tactical transport aircraft. With the result, it carries around 5 tons of load. It's a workhorse, like it was being said, in Assam, where there are multiple valleys. And in last 7 years, there have been 2. This is the second accident. The first one took place in 2019 in Pari mountain range, which is close to Jorhat, when it had gone there. But in this, as you can see, if you look at it, the aircraft is not on the runway, A. B, it has toppled. C, it is broken at least into 2 pieces. D, you can see on the horizon low clouds, which means this is the time when, actually speaking, monsoon hits Assam. And in this area, that is around 13 June, it hits in Jorhat or other neighboring areas. I've operated very close from Jorhat in Chabua. Third, another very important aspect to this is that during this period of time, there is usually wind shears and weather issues that are related to the landing of the aircraft. So it'd be too early to say whether it's a technical fault, but the weather could also have played a role. It could have resulted in a hard landing, or was there an engine loss on short finals, or was there an undercarriage collapse? Resulting in this toppling. This can only come to know once a court inquiry has been completed. But one thing I want to tell you, out of the 105 aircraft that are there in Indian Air Force today, 125 initially came in, 60 have been, a midlife upgrade has been done on these aircraft, but there is no supply chain. The supply chain broke after the Russia-Ukraine war, and HAL, though, has been putting its best to give them these spare parts, but some of these aircraft are used to give spare parts also. For example, cannibalization. The balance aircraft, some of them which are not flying, their spare parts are used. So the aging aircraft is also under maintenance stress, and that could be even if it's a wind shear and resulting in an undercarriage collapse, or it's a stall because of engine failure or any reason, or it is weather reasons. But the point is, a normal accident, if it had taken place with a hard landing, may not have resulted in that same amount of stress or strain as it takes place on an aging aircraft. Just an input I'm giving you. Nobody can say.
Because looking at the pictures there, I mean, it is split. That only talks about how big would have been the impact as it was attempting to land, and this explosion thereafter followed. Shinjoy, what are you hearing?
where I spoke with very, very senior Air Force officers, and the first thing they've said is, this is a bad case. And it's very unfortunate, very, very unfortunate. Now there are 2-3 things that are being talked about. One is that the aircraft might have just taken off and then may have been forced to land. Now these are very early bits of news coming in, though it's from the right people, the top people. It may have taken off and then done a really hard landing, at which point the aircraft, as you also heard, broke into at least 2 parts. 2 is what I heard. And one of the fuel tanks may have been set on fire. Now, that is a worrying aspect. We know what has happened, but we are waiting for the Air Force to officially mention what the numbers are and what the details are vis-a-vis this air crash. What we are also hearing is what has been said is it could be a loss of control. Now, why would someone who would just take off and then want to land again is a question that all of this will have to be answered in the court of inquiry. But it's a very worrying thing, and let's hope some good news comes out of it.
Right. But when we speak of, these pictures that have been coming in, I mean, Group Captain Devnath, sir, if you can tell us, when we speak of the make of this aircraft, how many crew pilots can be on board along with them? What are we now looking at as the kind of capacity that this transport carrier can hold?
Definitely very highly reliable aircraft to start with. Though it is aged, but with Russian and HAL support, we have been carrying out time to time midlife upgrade. The aircraft normally flies with one main pilot, one co-pilot, and there will be a navigator. In case the aircraft is going for a paradrop or a load carrying mission, which they do very often, they will be a load master too. What happens is this aircraft is mostly utilized for carrying load, military load, rations, medical supplies to advance landing grounds. Say it will take off, a typical sortie will be, it will take off from Jorhat, it will go and land at advanced landing grounds in next to LAC, like Machuca, Wolong, Zero advanced landing ground. And after landing, it will deliver the cargo, which will consist of, say, food articles, weapons, ammunition, tentage, snow-moving equipment for Indian Army and ITBP, Indo-Tibet Border Force. Some places, Assam rifle troops also depend upon these supplies being dropped from AN-32. Another typical mission profile for these aircraft will be that they will not land. They will go to some remote area just next to LAC, which are at a height of 9,000 feet plus. And there is no landing strip, there is no ALG, advanced landing ground. So the aircraft will drop the load with parachute. So rear ramp of the aircraft is opened with a parachute, containers and pallets containing food, medicine, say diesel, petrol, kerosene. They are dropped by parachute, and then the aircraft comes back. And now it is very essential to know that Indian Air Force is in the process of replacing this aircraft. Recently, we had set up a factory in Gujarat, C-295 aircraft. The first one has been handed over to Indian Air Force for flight test, and it has been inducted for operational flight in Air Force. 40 more will come out in next 3 to 4 years. C-295 will be a medium lift tactical aircraft.
Right.
These aircraft are typically capable of lifting 6 to 8 tons of load And in case of war, they can drop, say, 30 or 40 paratroopers behind enemy lines during day or night.
So rightly
Now,
so, it has been called as the workforce, or the workhorse rather, when we speak of, the twin-engined turboprop transport aircraft widely operated by the Indian Air Force, tactical airlift, troop transport, cargo delivery, logistics support, especially in remote and high altitude regions. And really unfortunate of this accident that has been reported. Court of inquiry that has been also ordered. Remains to be seen what comes out of it, as we are awaiting another statement on part of the Indian Air Force. Requesting our guests to please continue to be with us. So does Srinjoy and Mayank. We're just going to head into a very short break, staying with those pictures and expecting more updates on these developments, what has happened in Assam.